23-year-old Valley Hernandez says she could have never imagined what people all over the country saw on their TV screens this past weekend.
Being there in itself, it was like a dream come true because I always watched American Idol, but I never thought I would be on it.
Let alone get a ticket to Hollywood, sharing not just her voice, but her story. Her and her 2-year-old son, MJ, have been living in homeless shelters in the Bronx and Brooklyn.
It was horrible because it was like infested with roaches, with mice.
Being on American Idol changed everything for her.
I'm getting a lot of followers. I'm getting a lot of people, texting me and saying such encouraging, messages saying how they would help me out if I need anything, or they would help MJ out.
She got advice from the judges she'll never forget.
Lionel Richie actually told me, when you win, and when you lose, you learn. So I actually want that as a tattoo now.
And has a new EP coming out soon.
I mix, master, write, and record all myself.
But she says going on the show wasn't just about the music.
I want people to know if they're a single mother or single father that they can do anything they put their heart to. I feel like my purpose was to tell my story and tell people who are in my situation that they're not alone.
Hernandez is in this weekend's episode as well, and she says she's doing so much better since the show. She's no longer living in shelters and is a manager at a restaurant in New Jersey. Emily Lorsch, News 12.
Culture.
Hi, News 12. I just won The Voice.
Community.
The first shot went into the arm of Port Washington nurse Sandra Lindsay.
Connections.
Seems like so much fun.
It was pretty hectic.
Discover News 12 New York.
Hey, look, we're happy, right?
A new way to see the best of News 12's local channels from across the tri-state area, all in one place. Now streaming 24/7 on your favorite devices. Discover News 12 New York today.
Doctors say they hoped that by the beginning of next year, children would be vaccinated. Now, we are one step closer.
This is exciting news that, we are going to be able to get the information now to be able to make that recommendation, which I think is a really important step.
About 6,700 youngsters in the U.S. and Canada between the ages of 6 months and 11 years are taking part in the Moderna vaccine trial. Yale New Haven Health is approved as a trial site. Dr. Diaz, the chair of pediatrics at Bridgeport Hospital, says they will enroll children in the next couple of weeks over at Yale, and children will be getting 2 doses, 28 days apart. Some will be getting a placebo.
We want to make sure that, of course, that the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, what is their response going to be? How much of a dose do we need to give to them as opposed to somebody that's older? These are really important pieces of information so that we can get everybody protected.
Over at Connecticut Children's, Dr. John Schreiber, the division head of infectious disease and immunology, says this is great news for parents and grandparents.
I have a grandkid now, and we will certainly immunize our grandchild.
Dr. Schreiber, who is a pediatrician for 35 years, says he thinks most kids will be able to get the shot by next year.
To do it right and to get all the data and then have the FDA and scientists review it is going to take at least a year, in my opinion.
Karen Pinto, News 12, Connecticut.
The beginning stages of hot cross buns. Welcome back to News 12 Long Island. I'm Doug Deed. This is the Blue Duck Bakery in Southold, where this time of year they're busy making some early spring favorites.
Springtime is awesome on the east end of Long Island. Signs of life. But now Easter time, Lent, Easter, St. Patty's Day, very festive.
And very busy.
Starting this weekend, soda bread is going to just explode. We'll sell probably between 350, 400 loaves. Ours is very traditional. The final touch on it is the cross. And the cross, although on a baker's terminology, helps the bread expand and bake thoroughly inside the middle, the legend has it that the cross is to keep the devil out. Same thought behind the hot cross bun.
But Blue Duck is well known for items well beyond these seasonal goodies. In fact, their bread and butter item is their breads. They supply farm stands and restaurants from the East End into Brooklyn with an array of artisan breads, French, Italian, and a big-selling German bread.
The sauerkraut rye has sauerkraut baked into it.
But the baguette family may be the most popular.
A baguette is long and skinny and yet a lot of crust. Next would be the petard, which is, again, the same dough in a cigar shape, but when you cut it in half, it's going to be a little bit like this. The Parisian is nice and long, And we tell you, if you ride your bike here, you need to get 2 loaves and put it on the back of your bike so you look like you're driving in Paris.
There's lots of good things that bring in lots of customers. And this time of year, springtime and Easter, represent a rebirth or a new beginning. That's something a lot of us are hoping for.
Because of the pandemic, people really want to celebrate. They see the end with the vaccines. People are jumping to get out and feel normal again.
For more information about Blue Duck Bakery and to see more cool behind-the-scenes video, go to our website, news12.com/EastEnd. In Southold, Doug Deed, News 12 Long Island.
Imagine who actually are not happy that the vaccine is being given to children. So let's listen to a parent here who says that her daughter will not be getting the vaccine.
I'm not really comfortable. I feel like kids are not really getting it. And if they do, they're asymptomatic and they seem fine. So I wouldn't choose to vaccinate my children at this point.
So, Doctor, what should we tell those parents who are concerned about the vaccine's potential impact on kids?
So actually, it's not true. We are seeing many children at Cohen Children's Medical Center with COVID, and then with the inflammatory syndrome that comes after COVID. We've had on average 10 to 15 at the height this winter of children per week that were admitted, and that means that we've had hundreds actually already. And then for our inflammatory syndrome kids, those are about 70 so far this year. So this doesn't happen often, but it happens enough that we are seeing children who have to get hospitalized and who are very ill. And we also want to make sure that people understand that just because a vaccine is being tested in children later doesn't mean it's any worse for children. Children who are asymptomatic are actually still able to transmit virus to other children or to adults. Not so much as adults give it to children, but it's still something that's an important part of public health to try to make sure we get our numbers as low as possible.
Exactly. We'd love to get that herd immunity. So when can we maybe expect the results, Doctor, from these trials?
Just like we waited about 4 to 6 months to get some information about our other trials, it'll take a little bit of time, but hopefully by the time that we are well into our new school year, we'll have some more information where we'll be able to start giving vaccine out.
Candles lit Tuesday night at the foot of the memorial for Yadira Arroyo, a small sign of the vigil that happened here earlier tonight. A sea of first responders coming together with her family members to remember Arroyo and celebrate her.
I feel rejoiced. I feel saddened at the same time because I wish that we would have gotten together for a different occasion.
The tears flowed from loved ones, but so did the good memories of the 44-year-old.
She was a good EMT, knew her skills. Not only that, she just had compassion for her community and the patients.
Arroyo was killed back in March of 2017. Police say Jose Gonzalez was high on drugs when he stole Arroyo's ambulance and ran her over. Her family today saying her death has shed light on the dangers EMTs face.
Stop the violence. Stop attacking them because they are there to take care of you.
Her family today lighting candles and bringing flowers and ambulance with the words in loving memory of EMT Yadira Arroyo. Her accused killer still not convicted of the crime.
We want to believe that she's resting in peace, even though justice has not been served yet. We're still waiting for justice, but we want to keep her memory alive.
The Bronx DA saying it's been a long process to determine the man's mental fitness to stand trial, but until they see justice, and for many years to come, those at the vigil promising to keep Arroyo's memory alive. Arnold Davik, News 12.
I will feel relieved knowing that I could go back to, be some kind back to normal. It's been a difficult time, especially for people with disabilities.
Raymond Aldecoa says he's tired of being locked up in his house. He says Tuesday was the first day he's been out in 13 months, and for good reason, to get his COVID vaccine.
Once we get vaccinated, we feel we're going to feel free.
Aldecoa was one of the 200 people who got their first dose at the Care Design New York pop-up vaccine clinic, working with Partners Health Plan to break down vaccine access. access barriers.
Navigate the paperwork, to fill out forms, and even just helping to assist people to feel comfortable with getting the vaccine.
The one-day clinic provided a specialized experience for its care design members with intellectual and developmental disabilities and some caretakers to get the vaccine, even arranging transportation to and from their appointment.
Often we need to have a little more time and attention, and some of the bigger sites don't always allow that.
She said it was critical to meet the needs of their community, who had not been given true access to the vaccine, and help them get back to a sense of normalcy.
We see our friends on video chat, but not the same as actually seeing them.
People who got their first dose of the COVID vaccine here at the clinic will come back to the same location on April 13th for their second dose. In Westchester Square, Marissa Marcelino, News 12.
Tri-state manhunt for a couple wanted for a disturbing burglary in New Jersey came to an end over the weekend in Orange County. News 12's Blaise Gomez has that story from Blooming Grove that you'll see only on 12.
Police say Alex Yeakley and Amanda Lentz broke into a home here on Cedar Street in Englewood, New Jersey, Friday night, while a babysitter and young child were inside. Authorities tell News 12 the couple didn't stop there in what appears to be a bizarre burglary, and say the pair helped themselves to the family's food and belongings, even taking a shower and possibly having sexual intercourse inside. Englewood police say the babysitter at some point heard Lentz on a baby monitor in the child's room while the baby slept, and at first thought the homeowner had returned, but instead found Lentz inside. Authorities say the pair took off in the victim's Lincoln Navigator and left their own car behind while the babysitter called for help. Police say they used GPS tracking on an iPhone the couple stole to zero in on them here, 50 miles away in Blooming Grove.
Kudos to police. Yeah, if they're catching people like that and getting them off the streets, God bless.
So far, we don't know why the couple, who police say are from Pennsylvania, were in New Jersey or New York. But the burglary.
The nerve, you know? I don't understand people.
Is one of the strangest cases folks have heard. In Blooming Grove, Blaise Gomez, News 12.
Well, that couple now being held for now in the Orange County Jail. Police say they face criminal charges in both New York and New Jersey.
Last spring, COVID crippled New York hospitals, increasing bed capacity 150% while draining PPE.
Last spring was something that I could not even imagine being a part of. It was a pandemic.
Good Samaritan Hospital in Suffern was taking in 100 COVID positive patients every 24 hours, overwhelming staff and overflowing rooms.
And at the height, we were up to probably an additional 3 to 4 ICU type areas.
Now 1 year later, it's a whole new fight for hospitals, thanks to staff finally vaccinated, testing in high supply, no shortages of PPE and masks.
We have much better treatments. We're identifying it a little bit quicker, easier.
Including Regeneron's antibody cocktail and 3 vaccines. The hospital says even the new cases they're seeing are less severe, which they believe is attributed to social distancing.
The complete 180 that we've done here, just, you know, as a country, as a medical field, of what we're able to do now, what we know that we didn't know just a year ago, is pretty incredible.
Hard lessons that are now saving lives. In Suffern, Beth Cefalu, News 12.
Here in Hauppauge, where according to AAA, some of the reasons for the rising gas prices, supply, demand, man-made factors, and the weather.
I feel the pinch. I'm not going to get an SUV.
It's a little crazy. I think by the summer it'll be $4 a gallon. The way it looks, hope not, but.
That's what drivers we spoke with in Hauppauge say about rising gas prices. And according to AAA, the average price of gas right now on Long Island is $2.86 a gallon. That is 5 cents higher than last week. Robert Sinclair with AAA says the rising prices are due to a combination of factors.
The man-made has to do with the fact that OPEC Plus, particularly the Saudi Arabians, have cut back on oil production. The cold weather hitting the Gulf Coast, particularly Texas, And that led to the shutdown of a lot of refineries. And so we're seeing a shortage, quote unquote, of supply, leading to higher prices. On top of that, we're switching to summer blends of gasoline.
Another reason you're seeing more of your money go towards putting gas in your car, demand is going up, and Sinclair says people are optimistic about the economy getting better as it gets warmer.
Particularly with many states, getting rid of their mask requirements and getting rid of any restrictions on the gathering of crowds. And so the anticipation is that the economy will get better, and a lot of investors are pouring money into oil and gasoline futures, into oil and gasoline investments. And so that's making the price go up.
People we spoke with say the prices do make them think twice about getting behind the wheel.
No joyriding, no cruising around.
That's got to be necessary. So, Tama, when can we expect these gas prices to fall or at least level off at this point?
Some relief is something that everyone would be hopeful for, but unfortunately, Macy, according to AAA, these high prices are going to stick around at least for the next couple of weeks. And how long they stick around and how high they get, well, that's going to be determined on the supply and the demand. In Hauppauge, I'm Tama Ponton, News 12, Long Island.
While more and more Long Islanders are queuing up to get the jab, there are growing reports of fully vaccinated people still contracting coronavirus.
They say everything's going to be all right after you get the vaccine, but you never know.
Mary Sloan got her second dose of the vaccine today. A COVID survivor, she doesn't want to go through that experience again. But there are reports from the Hawaii State Department of Health that 3 fully vaccinated residents contracted COVID-19. Chief of Epidemiology and Infectious Diseases at Northwell Health, Dr. Bruce Farber, says he's not surprised.
Certainly at Northwell, we have seen cases of COVID occurring in people who have been fully vaccinated even several weeks after they've received their vaccination.
Experts say even after getting the vaccine, it can take several weeks for your body to develop a level of immunity. They add, none of the vaccines are 100% effective. The Pfizer vaccine is believed to be 95% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19 in the U.S., Moderna 94.1%, and Johnson & Johnson 72%. So at those rates, Dr. Farber says there are going to be some who still could contract the virus.
Even though it may not 100% prevent you from getting COVID, it will prevent you. All of these vaccines, including the J&J, will prevent you from dying, being in a hospital and getting critically ill from COVID.
Bottom line, medical professionals say even if you are fully vaccinated, it's still important right now to continue wearing masks and to follow social distancing guidelines.
When you're in public, masks are important.
Mia Dolan says she's fully vaccinated, but will still keep her mask on.
I feel happy that I've gotten both shots, and I feel a sense of protection, but I'm still being cautious.
Dr. Farber says that's good advice. Andrew Enger, News 12, Long Island.
We're caught on the treadmill, and we can't get off, and that's the problem.
Eye-popping prices for gas around New Jersey might be stuck on cruise control. Average gas prices are up 57 cents from this time last year. AAA found Garden State drivers are paying an average of $2.93 per gallon. That's 6 cents over the national average and 4 cents higher than just last week. While the gap has narrowed since last year, New Jersey is finding itself pinched at the pump.
New Jerseyans are taxed to death. And one of the things we could be proud of years ago was that we had one of the lowest gas taxes in the nation. Now we're the 4th highest.
Republican State Senator Kip Bateman was one of the loudest voices against the law former Governor Chris Christie signed in 2016 that raised the gas tax. That increase automatically comes back yearly to haunt the state. When people buy less gas, the state takes in less money. But the law says the state has to take in a certain amount each year, so the gas tax goes up again to make up the difference. With more fuel-efficient cars and people driving less because of the pandemic, we could be stuck in an upward spiral. The tax has gone up 36 cents in the last 5 years, meaning 50 cents out of every gallon goes to the state.
You can't blame Murphy for this one, Governor Murphy for this one, but I do think he could be proactive.
The governor said he had no power to stop the most recent increase last August, and Bateman agrees the governor can't do anything without a new law. Money from the gas tax goes to the Transportation Trust Fund, which builds and repairs roads and bridges around the state.
You're seeing some of our roads improve, but we have a long way to go. It's frustrating because New Jersey is a great state, but we're just taxing our residents to death. And that's why a lot of people are leaving.
Alex Sedan, News 12, New Jersey.
If getting sick with COVID-19 isn't bad enough, hundreds of people are still dealing with symptoms long after being diagnosed. Tonight, our Samantha Crawford takes a deep dive into this issue, speaking with those who know all too well what this nightmare is like.
So it's hard for me to talk about.
Ashley Pugliese was one of the first people in our area to get sick with COVID in March of 2020.
It took a long time to get better. It has gotten better. I am getting better.
You're still getting better. So you're still not recovered. Tell us, what are you still feeling?
I feel like it's aged me. I lost hair. My hair started to turn white almost overnight. Weight gain. I was super active before and hadn't been able to. Finally, I got a treadmill and I can walk again.
The Westchester Medical Center is seeing hundreds of patients like Ashley who are suffering brain fog, fatigue, and loss of taste and smell long after they're no longer infectious.
20 patients a day are calling for appointments.
Dr. Carol Carmen says they created a program because so many people are becoming long haulers. After an initial evaluation by physicians like Dr. Carmen, patients are referred to specialists who can help address the physical symptoms they have and the mental torment they're suffering.
Are there any indications why certain patients experience this and others do not?
So we don't know exactly why some patients are experiencing this. It turns out in our program there are more women than men. And these don't seem to be the sickest patients. These are people who had the more mild to moderate COVID.
Like Christine Clements, she was diagnosed with COVID in November and is still fighting fatigue and loss of taste and smell. She says just when she thinks she's getting better, COVID makes a comeback.
Now I'm up to the point where I'm having one pretty bad COVID day a week and the other times are manageable.
I'm sure it's very frustrating, very disheartening.
I know that I'll have a difficult time over the next few months trying to get past this 100%. It's tough.
Ashley and Christine say they're slowly getting there, but will need to keep seeing doctors at the Westchester Medical Center for the foreseeable future. As medical experts try to find answers, patients like Ashley and Christine are clinging onto hope.
Before this, I was a perfectly healthy, athletic, outgoing individual, and it's changed my life dramatically. I would encourage everybody to do what they can to prevent transmission to other people, which includes wearing a mask.
Incredible. Samantha, how are doctors treating these patients?
Well, unfortunately, there's no miracle medication or anything of that sort. So the answer right now, Ian, is time. Some patients have had such severe cases that they've needed cardiac or pulmonary procedures. Ian.